Now, Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, located on the South Shore, and I have been working as a full-time realtor and sales and marketing consultant for home buyers and home sellers for the past 15 years. I have helped hundreds of clients throughout the home buying and home selling process. My unique approach to assisting my clients to the next chapter of their lives is driven by being a team player and by offering them continuous training, education, advising, and mentoring. I like to say that I offer my clients exceptional service that moves you. Every week, I will be providing you with real estate topics ranging from home buyer and home seller advice, legal matters, insurance binders, flood insurance concerns, home inspection questions, environmental worries like radon, lead paint, and mold, mortgages and loan programs, staging tips and ideas, real estate contracts, market trends, home values, and more. It's a talk radio show, and sometimes we are even interactive, so you can follow along online. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We love to talk real estate. If you missed any of our shows, or if you want to listen to one again, you can listen on my podcast at talkrealestateradio.com. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me regarding your home sale or your home purchase, I'd love the opportunity to meet with you. You can connect with me anytime at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. Hello to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara, and you are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, Melissa Wallace, Mary Baker, Emmanuel Ebot, and Mark Stiles. Ooh, we got a full house tonight.
I like this jam. This is a good song right here.
I like it too. So, and Ben, you can hear us all okay, right?
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. So,
what up, Ben?
What up?
So tonight we have a special guest and two of my favorite people in this whole industry. We're so lucky. We say this all the time, right? Here, Mary, come share with me. We're so lucky.
Sharon is caring.
Yes, we're just very lucky to have, be surrounded by the best of the best. And I think that we have two of those people right here in front of us right now. We have.
I think we know.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And we are on Facebook Live. Melissa, you want to tell everybody how they can find us there while I do a little gymnastics here?
Sure. So if you are friends with Sharon McNamara on Facebook, we are live on her personal page. If you're not, go to Sharon Costa McNamara on Facebook and friend request her so you can see us every week.
Yeah, I'll be your friend, I guess. Yeah, we're trying to get everybody to go over to Boston Connect Real Estate page, right?
Yes, but you had your page up with live.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was testing earlier. I didn't know how else to do it.
Good job.
Yeah, you didn't. You were terrible at that, actually, by the way. I was like, what the hell is she doing up there?
Oh, you could hear Melissa screaming.
I know I could. So, Melissa, do you want to give our guests a little intro?
Sure. So we have Emmanuel Ebot and Mark Stiles from Stiles Law. We're going to get more in depth into your intro after our traffic, just because it's like a little awkward time in between. So we're like trying to fill the gaps here, but but we're very happy to have you guys in our new home.
Should we give the traffic report?
Yeah. Did you guys hit any traffic on the way here?
It was slow on the way over. Yeah.
Okay.
There was some red lights. Where were you
traveling from?
Yeah, Marshfield.
Marshfield. And you?
Well, I actually had a closing up in Newton, but
okay. How was the traffic?
You came all the way here from Newton?
This is big time.
You love this. You love us. Oh my goodness.
Big time.
Awesome.
Big time. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. All right, we can do a little bit of an introduction. So you're from Stiles Law, obviously. Where is your office located?
So we have our primary headquarters is in Marshfield, and then we have a separate satellite office in Boston, in the Leather District of Boston.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Swanky.
Yeah. How often do you go there?
Me?
Yeah.
Or Emmanuel? You might want to ask Emmanuel.
How often do you go there?
Well, as Mark said, the Marshfield office is pretty much our home.
Yeah.
And we cater to the Boston clientele.
Yeah.
And so it's whenever we have it's by appointment only, but
we're
closing. We're here.
And then maybe open in a Newton office, maybe?
No. No. I think the next office is going to be in New Hampshire.
Oh, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that would be great.
We'll get into that part later because we do have a question
have
that
a
relates
question.
to that. But
Really?
speaking of traffic, I don't know if it's from Marshfield, but we have Lisa DeMilo on the WATD Traffic Center to give us a little update. Hey, Lisa.
Well, hey, Sharon. You know, Mark did a good job. I think everybody wants my job. I can just give it up very easily because you're all doing a good job at it. But I have to tell you, it's really filling in on the expressway southbound. It's now grind from the tunnel down to South Bay and passing the gas tank. You're back in it a third time from Granite Ave to the split. Northbound's jammed from Granite Ave up past Neponset Circle. And again, approaching the tunnel, Route 3 South, that's backed up a bit coming off the expressway. Sagamore and Bourne, both delay-free, but Route 24 South, that's busy down past 495. This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Use your power to cure IBS and join the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation at Spin for Crohn's and Colitis Cures. Get started at spin4.org. Traffic on the 9s every morning. I'm Lisa DeMilo in the WATD Traffic Center.
Talk Real Estate continues on WATD. Now, let's connect with this week's Boston Connect Real Estate's weekly agent spotlight.
And we're back. Hello to all our South Shore neighbors. We don't have a weekly spotlight as an agent this week, but we do have special guests in-house with us today in our in-home office. You can catch us on Facebook again, so we're live and you can see everybody there. So happy that you can join us. If you have any questions, I know Melissa has Facebook up right now too, so you can feel free to ask some questions. Just give us a thumbs up or a big hello if you can hear us okay. We had a little technical difficulty with that in the past couple of weeks. But if you have questions regarding legal matters when it comes to real estate, just feel free to send us a message right there on Facebook, and Melissa will be able to get that. Also, if you want to call into the studio, we've had people calling in lately. Ben can pipe you right in at 781-837-4900. Again, tonight is your lucky night because you got Mark and two of the best, Mark and Emmanuel here. And we've had a great year working with you guys. And as always, thank you so much, really, for taking care of our clients the way that you do. It's awesome. You really get your systems down really, really well. And
Thank you.
It's like a well-oiled machine. And for us, because we're very busy as agents and a team, so this is our team. Mary, how many houses have we sold this year?
56.
Wow, we did pretty good then, huh? Woo! Wow, that was really good then. But
That's a big number.
But when you're doing that much volume, and I'm running an office with 32 agents and, taking care of, 2 kids that are in college and grad school and all that other stuff, it's just so good to know that we have your team on the other side taking care of the things.
Same side.
Yeah, well, same side, but you know what I mean, like doing the job for us, like you're doing the legal part of it is what I meant to say, right?
Yeah, I think we never have to second guess or worry what's going on when our clients are using your office, because we just know you're handling business.
Right. Well,
and you'll let us know if there's a problem.
Right. And it's a great partnership because of the way you work with your clients, right? Mm-hmm. You guys are very professional. And when the client is introduced to us, there's a lot of questions that are already answered, right? There's a lot of expectations already managed. So it's really easy to work with your clients, and it's nice working with you all because you treat us like partners, right? We're not a vendor that needs to help get something done. You see us more as an affinity partner where we're doing good by somebody together, which is always a pleasure to work with folks like that.
And we do work a lot with Emmanuel, which I love. I mean, he's he's great. I know.
I do.
You couldn't stand hearing my voice every day, could you?
We have a lot of fun with Emmanuel.
He's
just
great.
Gonna say.
He's great. Let's have some fun with him right now.
He gave me his cell phone number, but still, I mean.
Do you know where he's from?
No, I don't know where
Where are you
he's
from, Emmanuel?
Well, I am a Midwestern boy.
Oh,
Originally?
really?
Yeah.
Originally from Cameroon, but
Cameroon.
grew up in corn country. Out in
Cameroon.
Cameroon is Western African country. That's where my parents are from. Originally, yeah. So
You don't meet
Okay, so
someone from
Midwest.
Cameroon very often.
Everywhere.
What's corn country?
Iowa.
Iowa.
If you ever need good corn, just let me know.
From Cameroon to
I
Iowa.
love corn.
So
I really do, but
Me
Mary
too.
won't let me eat it because she says it's not
It's
healthy.
not a vegetable. I'm
It's not that
sorry.
it's not healthy. It's just useless, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's a carb.
That's
I mean,
right.
if you have corn and
too.
potatoes, you're doubling up there.
I'd rather have
Iowa and
corn
Idaho.
than
Do you make a good corn chowder?
no.
Does your wife?
I can grill a good corn. Good corn.
Yeah,
but
really?
Other than that,
So do you still have family there?
I do.
Yeah.
In both in Cameroon and in Iowa. Yeah. So
Really?
I'm all over the place.
So do you
Come
go
down
back
with-
often to visit in
I try.
Africa and stuff too?
Well, I haven't been back since I was a teenager.
Really?
But
Huh.
Iowa, I go once a year.
Oh, really?
I can.
Oh, that's great. So your mom and dad are there?
My mom has now relocated, but I still have extended family there.
Yeah.
So we're my family. We could spend 30 minutes on where
Yeah.
we all are.
Let's do
but
it.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere.
This guy's super
We're
interesting.
changing the
Yeah.
topic. It's all about Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
know, really. All these things that am I a bad person because I haven't asked? No, I knew that you were from Midwest
Yeah.
because, first of all, I can just tell by your persona that you're just very calm, cool, and collective. You know how I always say you're like one pulse short of being flatlined?
Yes.
Like, because you're so
In a
cool.
good way.
In a good way. Yeah, in a good way. Well, even the other day.
It's so important in this
it
space,
is
isn't it?
so important. And I have to tell you.
Calm and cooling,
Yes.
stress-free.
And I sort of tend to be a little hyper, and I wasn't feeling good last week,
Yeah.
and like I got like sort of like sparky, spicy.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel's like, well, no, I don't mind just saying. And I was like, Emmanuel, you're such a better man than me. But Mary, can you actually talk to our listeners, because I do want to highlight you guys a lot, and then we are going to get into some of the meat of the girls put together this agenda. But last week I thought was such a really, really good example of being partners in this business, because we went to the NAR convention last week, and it was in San Francisco, 3-hour, time difference, which makes it difficult. And honestly, we were there to learn. So you don't want to be stressed about what's going on with your transactions when you're trying to learn something new to help your clients, right?
But those don't stop just because you're getting on a plane, right?
Exactly. And you're in those classes all day long, and you're running in between and everything. But we had something going on, and you want to just say how Emmanuel was just so awesome about that?
Yeah. So we actually had like several closings last week with your office that we weren't here for, but we had Mark, our go-to guy.
We were at the
Mark
airport
McNamara.
for them.
We had a 4-hour delay, so we could have gone, but it would have been hectic. But something that I love, so this is a kind of completely different, but something that I love about your office is we can go in there at any time. Like who's the girl at the front desk, Bridget? Bridget, she knows who I am now because I walk
She
in.
hasn't been there that long either.
No, she really hasn't. She's like,
awesome,
hey,
by the
Mary,
way.
who are you here to drop off something for?
She's a rising superstar. I can't wait to see what
She knows my voice. I mean, like, it's very much, we're all, like you said, partners and working together. So we drop off everything that we need to you guys if we can't be there ourselves. And you're just so good about picking up where we leave off. And I think that's something that we'll get into a little bit later here. But I know while we were away, we have had this transaction that's just been, difficult to say the least. And we were in classes all day, and that I never caught on to that 3-hour time difference. It didn't make any sense to me. I was
Did you leave
always
your watch the same? Did you leave it at Eastern Standard Time?
no. These Apple Watches they do it on themselves.
Cool. Yeah.
They change on their
Technology.
own. But I never got the hang of it. Regardless, I think I ordered somebody pizza that was supposed to be at 12 o'clock by like 4. Just saying. Sorry, Harringtons. Love you. Anyway, I think what was nice is Emmanuel knew that we were away, so he was able to kind of pick up and say, all right, I'm going to take over this kind of nightmare that was going on and roll with it. And I apologized to him later. I was like, we were in class all day. He was like, I got it. Don't even worry about it.
Been there, done it.
And it maybe wasn't even really his place to be getting involved at that point, and it should have been something that we were doing.
Yeah.
But he had no problem rolling with it and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is, I know Mary and Sharon would be on the same page with us and everything. So
That's what we do.
yeah.
Worked out great.
I asked if anybody had a question for you guys, and we do have a
Dum,
question.
dum.
Does Emmanuel ever get asked if he looks like Big Papa?
Yes.
That's
Great
from
question.
Peter
Wow.
Peter Fakaisen, you're a funny man.
The funny thing is, there's I'm not going to name any names here, but funny story. there is a recurring client that we have that I had done multiple transactions with, and it wasn't until recently that he knew my real name, because all he called me was Poppy the whole time. So the answer to that question, Pete, is yes.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
once or twice.
A lot of people call him Poppy. That's funny.
I have a funny story about that too, Peter, that I can tell. So at our grand opening, Emmanuel came to that, and one of our clients was here, Kelly. Yeah. Kelly Riggins, and she's like, I was like, oh, hey, this is Emmanuel. It was great too because he was here, and I was able to introduce him, because a lot of times you guys don't even get to meet them while we're in transaction. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, this is Emmanuel. This is your attorney. She's like, oh, great to meet you. Blah blah blah. And then later on that day, I'm in the kitchen doing something, and she's like, I got to tell you, this is sort of funny. She's like, Emmanuel Ebot, I thought he was a small Jewish man. I was like, no.
Different. Didn't you go to an event where the kids thought you were looking? They went to ask you for your autograph. They were looking for your autograph.
You should have worn a jersey.
You've done that for Halloween.
If I had known that, I would have. But the kid was like eyeing me, and then kind of nudged her mom and asked whether I was David Ortiz, and when they said no, just a look of disappointment.
You saw the tears well up in her eyes.
That's sad. That is funny.
All right, let's get into talking about you guys a little bit.
Us guys?
Yeah, you guys.
Okay.
So, obviously, we talked about where your office is located. So you're in Marshfield, right off of 139, which is awesome, prime location.
Yep.
How long have you guys been in business? When did you open Stiles Law?
January 2nd, 1996.
Wow. Can I tell you
Were
how
you
old?
born?
Yes, I was.
You were?
I was 7
5.
years old.
That makes me feel old.
These are what you're dealing with now.
Which, by the way,
millennials.
I love your generation. I've been talking to people about that, and my generation is not painting a great picture of you folks, and I stand on a soapbox and defend the millennial generation all the time.
We actually heard that a lot at NAR.
Really?
That we get a bad rap, but we just
I think a lot of it's misguided, because every generation who's in their 20s, early 30s gets thrashed. I was part of the Gen X generation, and we were slackers and lazy and this and that. And I don't think it's right that they do that, but it's more of a brain development period than a generation, right? But your generation was raised differently than ours, right? So you had a lot of technology at your fingertips. You had the participation trophies, which, by the way, only recently have I come to the thesis that I think that might have actually been really good.
Okay.
Where, the competitor in me and all of the people I talk to have always said, it's horrible, they're entitled, they're weak, they always think they're going to get a prize. And I was saying to a friend of mine, I'm like, at what point did it become socially acceptable for men to hug one another? 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was like, whoa, man, don't touch me. Yeah. And I think it's the influence of your generation on us that, you are caring, you're environmentally friendly. I've got my... For those who can't see this, I've got a boxed water here, which I love that you guys are, focused in on that. And I think there's so much more positives coming from your generation than people realize.
I love that.
A lot of the statistics that they were talking about is that the millennials they're more likely to be repeat customers. They're loyal.
Well, they're coming informed too.
They're coming informed, so they'll sort of research everything like to the T.
YouTube's a beautiful
before they make a decision,
isn't it?
but at least they have an informed decision, so they're not making so many mistakes. But they're also very loyal. So once they choose somebody, they're brand loyal. They're person loyal.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of statistics on that about millennials from the NAR conference.
Really?
And it was like 70% of them.
Should you tell your listeners what NAR is?
Oh, NAR, yeah. So National Association of Realtors. So we're a Realtor office, and it's not Realtor, it's just Realtor. Do you say it?
Yeah,
I got yelled at for saying it.
I'm a little afraid to say it now.
I don't say it.
Realtor.
I say real estate professionals, and I don't have to.
Realtor.
real estate
I don't have to go down there.
That's like realtor, because we're like superheroes.
Yeah.
We wear a cape. But 70% of the millennials will pick an agent and they will stay with that agent, and they want somebody that they can trust. They'll do all the information themselves, look for all that information themselves. That's what I love about your generation. You're more resourceful than, and you guys pick it up with me, because you know there's a lot of times where I'll just like bark out, hey, where's this? Where can I find that document?
Right.
And Mary will literally look at me through her office and say, teamwork. Teamwork. You just need a button that says it. So like, I'm still not in the habit of doing certain things.
Well, because we didn't have information at our fingertips growing up. We had to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica to find something, not Google, right? That generation, you all, who I love, can just find that information so quickly, and they know how to access that information. They go to, if they have a question about title insurance, they're going to go to YouTube and find an unbelievable video at Stiles Law's YouTube channel.
Yeah,
right?
well, we definitely want to promote all that, and we'll do a blog and make sure that everybody has your.
But that's my point. So they're coming to us informed, and it's great, you know. And there is a risk associated with that, though, right? The commoditization of some of the personal services that we're dealing with, right? So if they think that they have enough information, then they can go for the lowest price possible, right? And that's sometimes a huge mistake.
But there's stats about that too, though.
What are they saying?
For a millennial, like even for me, I'd rather pay more and know that I'm getting good service. Like I'd rather pay for quality than risk doing it on my own, because we came up in the generation of seeing our parents who were very stable and then not so stable when the crash happened. So
where were you in life when that happened?
So the crash was 2008. I was just graduating high school.
Okay.
So
you
just
saw it.
going into college. Yeah. So I saw it and had an understanding of it.
And stressed out at college, away from your family struggling. What is going on? Are we going to be okay? Should I be in college?
Yeah.
Can my parents
can
afford
we afford this?
Yeah. I was a senior.
So does that hold you all back from buying? Like, does that make your generation kind of nervous to buy because what they saw happen when you were a senior in high school and getting ready to go off to college?
I don't necessarily. Well, you've already purchased a house.
And I'm not speaking for you two because you're in it, but your generation, were they kind of rattled by that to the point where they might be like, I'm going to rent because I saw what happened?
I think, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that we know sort of a lot of people our age who are sort of getting to that point where they're purchasing their homes, whether they're in their late 20s or early 30s.
Yeah, but that's a lot later than what it used to be. Yeah. So that's
our generation right now.
But is it the student debt that they're strapped with?
It's the student debt. It's not relying on anybody but yourself. So if you are renting, you're renting with other people your same age. I just got out of that situation myself, but I personally pay for everything myself, paid for college, all that stuff. So that's sort of something that is holding I think our generation back, because of what happened. Maybe we had to pay for everything
but I also think
and not had our parents pay for things because they might not have
they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Right?
But what I think that also shows, though, Mark, because we were in this in Emmanuel, right?
Deep.
So we were into this deep. 2010 is when I opened up Boston Connect. That was the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
So I think what has changed, what this generation is probably, and we're definitely off track here a little bit, but what this generation is probably failing is that they saw what their parents went through.
Yeah.
They're also the ones that are dealing with all of that debt. They also are the generation that wants a nice quality car because they deserve it, right? So they have the high car payments and things like that. But they're also smart enough to know that they don't want to end up like their parents were, so they're afraid to buy that home. And that's why they're probably renting, because they're a little more educated and a little smarter about their finances when they know, all right, well, I have this much in college, monthly payment for tuition. What do you call that? Tuition pay, student loans, yeah. So I have this much for my car. I'm not going to take the chance of buying a house, having the mortgage, and then losing it.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents. What do you think?
No, I agree, because at the end of the day, if you're renting and you're renting with other people, there's always the possibility that, hey, I can get another roommate, or I can.
But is that also like the community base of your generation? Like, I want to be surrounded by my people. I don't need a lot. I certainly don't need a big house right now. I'm a minimalist, right? I don't have to.
I'm a big proponent for millennials being minimalists.
Yeah. So I have a question for you folks then.
Okay.
What are we going to do with those big McMansion neighborhoods? Because no one's in your generation is going to buy them.
Actually, that is a great question. I would love to see.
Do you know Pat Hyben?
No.
So I talked to Pat Hyben. Pat Hyben's got a podcast. He's a big real estate trainer. He was the #1 agent for Remax one year, and then the very next year went to Keller Williams, was the #1 agent in all of the nation of Keller Williams back, and he's now created like this training thing. And I talked to him about it, and I believe that the only way to deal with it is like in the city. So you have those big Victorians in the city, you chop them up and it becomes a 4-family. You know, we're going to have neighborhoods in the suburbs of these big homes with not a lot of land, and there's going to be 4 families living in those. You know, I'm talking 30 years from now, but these are $1,000 a month heating bills. Are you gonna?
That's what I was gonna say. It's really the utilities right now. I mean, we have a house right now. It's a beautiful house. It's priced aggressively. It has a couple of things though. It's an antique, which I love antiques. This is the one I want you to do a class at for me.
Yeah.
But it's a big house, so you think about what is this gonna cost in my gas bill. It has an industrial kitchen in it, so it's been really difficult to find that perfect buyer for that. But I think the problem that we'll probably have in the suburbs, because I mean, you're on the zoning board. I was on zoning in Pembroke and then went to conservation, but now nothing, which feels very good, by the way. But I mean, I don't know that I don't see the towns really going that way and allowing legal multifamilies in these situations, because then they're going to have to worry about the fire department, the school system, and the impact that it's going to have.
Right now,
yeah.
But
right
30 years when there's no land, right, to build in some of these communities, and you're looking at these neighborhoods with these massive 7,500, 10,000 square foot houses that look exactly alike on a street, no one's buying them. You're just going to let them, you know,
yeah.
rot.
Well, I never even understood when we were in that time frame. I could never understand why anybody would need a living room in their bedroom. Don't you do one thing or the other?
Well, it's generational, right? I mean, these are the Gordon Gekko era, right? Right. Greed is good. 80s coming up, swinging, big Wall Street. Money is it's all about money. That I applaud your generation. It is not all about money, and that's a mindset shift for even us who were working in the late 90s, early 2000s, because commissions, end of month, numbers, where are we, blah, 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 doesn't really, you know, am I taking care of my people? Is everybody happy? Is more in line with what you folks are talking about?
And that was definitely just the feeling that you got, the aura at the NAR convention, and it was definitely all about
it's
that.
Positive.
And it felt really good, Mark, and I'm going to say that's the agent I've been forever.
Right.
I've been doing this for 19 years.
I'm a millennial forever.
Yeah. So a millennial mindset.
You were the first millennial and you just stayed.
But I've always had that. For me, my clients were always more important to me than my commission. And I don't, and we talk about this now, and this is how I do the trainings at Boston Connect and with my team, is I just want us to stay focused. It's not about selling a house. For me, it's about helping a family.
Right.
I can get motivated by that, right? So the more people I help, well, obviously, the more money we make, right? But I'm not going to focus on that. And as the broker of the company, I've sat down with agents in my office, and you know, they want more, not their generation, a generation above them. And I say, do you care more about your client or your commission? And one response one time was, it must be nice not to worry about money, Sharon. I looked at Trish Flynn and said, I think I'll leave now. You can handle the rest of this. So,
well, the reality of it is if you're doing the right thing and your values are in the right place, money just happens to follow. It's natural.
And that's how I feel in our industry. And I know you've done a really good job about helping agents understand we're colleagues, we're not competitors. We just wear different color shirts. And I've always felt that way too. And I've had conversations with, we've recently had an agent who joined us from Redfin, and he said, I'll never forget, I had a transaction with you and I was getting a little cocky or whatever. And I remember you saying to me, your career will go much further when you realize that this isn't about me and it isn't about you. It's about my client and your client. Right. He goes, and I'll never forget. And you were, I was nice about it. So
Well, it's cooperators. I say
Yeah.
this all the time, and you mentioned it, the real estate school. So we teach CEs at our office. We have a real
need
estate
some.
school. Yeah, we'll
Need to
come.
take some classes.
And it's a lot of
February.
fun. It's a lot of fun because it's collaborative learning, right? So there's 8 people in the room. Some of them work together, some of them don't, and we're sharing ideas and teaching through experiences. But what we always say is, listen, you have earned your commission when the buyer and the seller come together. Everything else is customer service. But for you all to bring those buyers and sellers together, you're cooperators. You're not competitors. Like, you need to be working together for the benefit of the clients. Your buyer wants to buy, your seller wants to sell. I never understood why people draw a line in the sand and pound their chest and say, we're going to fight for that last $50. No, it's not. It's not what your client wants. Your client wants to buy this house. Your client wants to sell this house. Like, why are we throwing up these obstacles to make it challenging? And that's another reason why it's nice working with you folks.
So that
'Cause you get
actually
it.
brings me to a question that we had thought about. So I'm just getting back, looking at the agenda a little bit.
Yeah. I'm letting Emmanuel talk since he came from Newton.
Well, so
Ask him the question then.
That is something.
Ask him the
so
hard ones.
You're talking about cooperating brokers, right? So we're definitely
Cooperating professionals too, because we run into it with the attorneys also, and it's like, hey,
Well, that's
what are you
we were gonna
doing?
say. Have you seen a little bit of a shift? Because I feel like we've seen a shift in the agents that we're coming in contact with, the brokers that we're coming in contact with, and their mentality, not necessarily in a great way. Have you guys?
What do you mean? So you're seeing it spinning in the wrong
We did a
way?
show a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
we did.
It's sort of like a WTF moment. Like, we had one day where it's like, could anything else go wrong? Like, what is going on here? But we were coming across people sort of throughout the industry, not just other agents, that just sort of were really only thinking about, how can I one up the other person?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's
disheartening.
Just, or how can I be sneaky? How can I get this for
Was
my
it just
client
like
without doing...
the magic of 3? You all of a sudden had 3 terrible situations?
It was probably a little bit of that had happened, but for me, being in this industry for 19 years now, it was, the situation I had. Oddly, your office was working with the buyer. In our office. Yeah. I won't say, I'm not going to say any names or exactly what happened. I told Emmanuel after the fact because I didn't want to get involved, but I was like, I wish that this attorney over at Stiles' office knew who I was, so when he's hearing these things that they're saying, that this other attorney would know it's not true.
He does. He who he was does, because at 9:30 every morning we get together as a team and we mastermind.
Huddle.
Well, we like to call it a mastermind, right? So everybody goes through all of the active transactions. I sit in with my 24 years of experience.
Emmanuel, do you
And
say
then-
stuff about us?
And then we have the
we
other
Got
brightest
another one
minds.
from them.
Yeah, but
Wait
it's
till you hear this story.
Attorney-client privilege, Sharon. I can't divulge anything.
no, but we care about all of our referral
Yeah.
partners. So it's like, hey, listen, Sharon's team's on the other side, But at the same token, it's, we're never looking to obstruct. We're always taking. I mean, the mantra is over and over again in our office. Like, listen, we're not litigators.
Yeah.
Buyer wants to buy, seller wants to sell. We're here at the point where they've already come together and made that decision. So how do we help guide them there?
And the problem, what happened with that, though, is I will say that lies and deceit will start. The Dorchester in me can only be stifled for so long. So, for me, though, that gets my feathers up a little bit.
It's unfortunate.
It really is
happen.
unfortunate, because it's like, why did you lie to me? Like, you did not have to lie to me.
So another, quote, cooperating agent lied to you.
It's like,
sucks.
in a bad way. Like, you waived your home inspection and then told me you were going in there to measure for the refrigerator, let's say.
And then brought in
a full-blown
it's
home
funny.
inspector.
It's funny you mention that, because this is one of the things I've kind of been on my soapbox about too. Is I don't like the ability for people to waive their home inspection. I don't think it's right. I know that it's a tactic that's used more often in the city, right, Emmanuel? That people try to strengthen their offers with a
like it's a marketing, negotiating tool, just to move their off to the top, and then once they have the deal, they
over asking.
Well, they'll
waive
try
home
to do
inspection,
it
no
again.
Sale
But my soapbox is this, and I'm not looking to give a windfall to the home inspectors, but the good ones, then hopefully they continue to license them and keep the barrier to entry at a high level. But I think that it should be mandated that every consumer has to have a home inspection.
We have to give them facts for consumers. Legally, we have to do that. We actually, it's weird though that the state doesn't make us have our buyer clients sign it, but we legally, as Massachusetts real estate agents, have to give them a piece of paper that it's facts for consumers from the state of Massachusetts.
I think in Florida you have to have a home inspection.
And everybody should.
Florida does a lot of real estate transaction right.
Yeah.
You know, their contract is solid, it's fair, you know, there's no wasted time going back and forth about minutia. And I've done a few transactions in Florida, and I've seen how they do it, and I kind of like the model that they have because there's a ton of transactions going on down there, so it would be chaos if they didn't have some semblance of a system down. But the fact that people would buy a house, a consumer, a primary residence, somebody who's not you know, skilled labor, skilled in construction or types of things like that, to buy a home without having a home inspection it's negligent in my mind. And then the folks that try to, you know, strategically slide one past and say, we're waiving it. You know, you can sell us whatever you have, no matter how bad it is, we'll take it. And then they do whatever happened
well,
to
and
you.
what happened is, and I do want to get into some of our topics too, but
there are topics other than this?
But the thing that happened though, when you start that way, then I'm always questioning if you're ever telling me the
you've
truth.
breached trust.
Exactly. So for me, it was, and I said this right to the agent, I was like, I feel like I'm playing a game of Survivor with you where you're trying to outwit, outsmart. And I was like, I'm not going to let my torch get blown out. Like,
I don't have time.
Yeah, I don't. And I really don't want to play, like, it's not even
Let's
playing.
be transparent.
Yeah.
Let's tell everybody exactly what you have, because again, buyer wants to buy, seller wants to sell. It's our job to get them there in a smooth and effective way that doesn't cause a lot of stress, because it's stressful for these people. Why are we adding stress to it? Be transparent.
I'm into that. So I'm going to take that as a no. You are not seeing it trickle down into the real estate attorneys.
Well, I wasn't sure where you were going initially with it.
Are you seeing it?
Well, we're trying to, you know, create the message for attorneys. At least the reality of it is we run into the same attorneys over and over again, and we can't operate without them, right? Because there's a buyer and there's a seller. So a lot of times we're seeing the same people over and over again, so we get used to each other, and frankly, we're calling people out if they're misbehaving, you know. So if we can create a community of understanding, we're getting closer to Florida's model, right? Okay. We're getting closer to the model that, you know, we should have a fair and equal bargaining agreement where the buyer and the seller both don't feel like somebody's getting over on them. You know, we equally are going together in this agreement for the same core purpose, which is, I want to sell, you want to buy, let's do it, you know?
And you know, going over what Mark just said, the deals that we do see the tension, it's usually with another attorney who's not experienced in real estate.
Right.
Who's coming from another a litigator or
and they're trying, and it happens.
Like an estate attorney.
And it's similar with some of the less than optimal real estate professionals, right? They're trying to show their value, and they're just really showing their weakness, because they're trying to throw up, look what I did for you, you know, and it really it's a disservice to the client. You know, it's like I always say, real estate agents, they're kind of like referees. At the end of the game, you know, you shouldn't know their name. I mean, obviously you should, and be with you guys forever and ever because of how you guided them there. You're not going to remember their name because they called a bad penalty or they threw a rock across to the other side and caused this commotion. It's you just flow up with the transaction to the closing, and people will remember how easy the experience was, how stress-free the experience was. So you're going to have those people for life. And, you know, the way you guys operate is very similar to the way we operate. We see ourselves as more of a resource for these people, like lifelong. We're here for you. We want to be there for questions in the future about real estate and other things. And you all are the same way. What people resist is the conflict. You know, there's no need for a fight in a real estate transaction. And I think that the attorneys like Emmanuel was referring to, you know, the divorce attorneys doing one deal for their cousin, and they're getting in there, and they, you know, it's also the fight or flight mentality, right? So they're not really sure, so they're just going to fight their way out of the corner. And, And it just causes everybody time and aggravation when we find the people that we deal with all the time. It's like, oh, okay, this will be smooth. We'll get through, protect each other, protect each other's clients respectively. But at the same token, we know what's fair.
Yeah.
So let's be fair and let's get to the closing, because again, we're not an obstacle to this process. We're a facilitator.
Yeah. We have 7 minutes left, so if you have a question for Mark or Emmanuel, we are live on Facebook, so Sharon Costa McNamara on Facebook. Or if you have ourselves, just give us a text. 781-837-4900 is the WATD phone number if you want to call in, too.
So, Mark, and Emmanuel, since we don't have much time left, you'll have to promise that you can come back another time so we can go over some of the things on the agenda. But Mark was just insistent on not following it. That's why it's on the floor over there.
Well, I was afraid of some of those questions that you had there.
They did it. They did it. But I want to actually let's talk a little bit more. So here we are, we're talking about how the both of you go in and you protect your clients, protect our clients, and you're helping our clients, you're bringing our clients together, buying, selling, whatever. Emmanuel, why don't you let our listeners know what is it exactly and why is it so important to have a real estate attorney working for you? What are your jobs once we help somebody get a house under agreement?
Sure. Well, at a basic level, especially in Massachusetts, once you have a buyer and you have a seller and they have an accepted offer, that's a contract. It's a legal document that has legal consequences if there's a breach, especially for a buyer, where you're putting a deposit down, and if you don't follow through with what you agreed to do, you can lose the money. So as a real estate attorney, my job is to protect, whether I'm representing the seller or the buyer, their legal interests from the point that they're in a contract all the way to the closing. And that, especially in a state like Massachusetts, where we have such dire consequences upon breach, proceeding without an attorney, it's I think Mark mentioned malpractice. It's just not wise. And having been through many of these transactions before, we see that we can anticipate issues before they come up, and that's where we see our expertise. There's letting a client know that, based on what we see here, we should put this provision into the P&S agreement because there's a septic system there, and if it fails, this is what could happen. Without an attorney, you're proceeding without any type of protection, and when something does happen, you're now stuck in litigation with either a buyer or a seller. So in a nutshell, it's really to protect the interests of a buyer and seller, because the ramifications of something falls apart are pretty dire. So
do you think it's appropriate or advisable to get involved at the offer stage even for an attorney? Because I know sometimes we have clients who come to us, and usually it's something just real estate agents are going to handle, and then the offer goes to you once it's accepted, and you guys produce the purchase and sales agreement and kind of negotiate that. Is it something, I'm just curious now, is it something you want to do?
Mark can answer this as well. I actually think it's a great idea to involve an attorney that early. We actually have, and I know Mark's probably talked about this greater, we have an attorney on call on weekends for realtors to call in as they're negotiating the offers, because again, that offer is a binding contract. So you do want some, especially if there's a question that you're unsure.
Like, how should I word this?
How should I word this? There's this, there's a shared driveway that's been disclosed. How should we address it? We see an easement on a plan. What does that mean? Things like that. Those are things that you really want an attorney involved, even at the earliest stage. I know Sharon and Mary, you've called me even before.
I know.
Even before.
Right when you listed.
So
I'm amazed, frankly, that we don't get involved more in the offers, and I don't understand where that all began, but I also believe that most real estate professionals don't really know that this is a binding contract, that this, and I'm sure that the consumers, some of them are going in like, oh, this is just a letter of understanding or a memorandum or a letter of intent, but you can be bound. I mean, you can close based on an offer. Like, that contract is enough. And we've been teaching the purchase and sale agreement class in the CEs, and I say that all the time. I'm baffled that we're not brought in, because what happens is that's a binding contract. So whatever is in that contract is going in the purchase and sale agreement. So if there's a poorly crafted contingency, I need to sell my house, but it's not written well, we're stuck with that language. And if we try to change it, then we're really renegotiating the terms that these parties already agreed on. So therefore, then we look bad that we're trying to renegotiate something when in fact we're just trying to clarify and rewrite. But if we were called as we're doing it, or we're able to send, like, here's the good sale contingency language, use this at this point in time. I mean, we're open to it. And I don't know why the industry has been hesitant to bring the attorney in there, but that's where I believe we should be brought in.
Oh my goodness, I cannot even believe that we're out of time. I agree with you, and
Went
I know,
fast.
yeah, you have an attorney that's on. I just call Emmanuel.
Yeah, and that's great.
So sorry, Emmanuel.
And if you're looking for more information, we do have a YouTube channel
Perfect.
at
What is
Stiles
that?
Law.
At Stiles Law?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And what about your website?
Stiles-law.com. We have a good presence on Facebook, and but the YouTube channel has a lot of good, valuable info.
Perfect. And how can people get in touch with you at your office? Phone number?
781-319-1900.
Perfect. And we will be putting all of this information in a blog for you on our website at bostonconnect.com. You can always reach us at 781-826-8000. Again, bostonconnect.com, and we will connect you with our favorite attorneys. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for having us.
Good night.
Thank you.